All right. Hey there, nerdpreneurs. Welcome back to Market Like a Nerd. And get ready to geek out with me because today I'm joined by best-selling novelist and fellow geek, Rocky Callen. Whoop, whoop. Hey, Rocky.
Hey, it's so awesome to be here with my fellow nerds.
Yeah, welcome to Nerdpreneur Nation.
It's awesome to be here.
Well, we are stoked to have you. Now, for everyone who is listening, besides having really gorgeous hair and beautiful lipstick, Rocky is the bee's knees when it comes to writing books, getting them out into the world, and turning them into bank. She and I were actually roomies at a event in Canada where we both spoke on stage together, and we shared a lot of interesting moments together there in the room. But what happens in Canada stays in Canada.
Stays in Canada.
Yes. Stories for another day. So first, let me tell you a little bit about Rocky, and then we'll talk about her tips for making bank off of books. How's that sound?
Awesome.
All right, so Rocky is a best-selling novelist and the author of the forthcoming nonfiction book, The Audacity of Creation. She pulls on her writing and publishing experience as well as extensive behavioral therapy background to create a experience that not only allows women to finish their manuscripts, but also supports them in their journey so that by the end, they are confident authors ready to be seen and celebrated as a thought leader. The same framework of mindset, strategy, healing, and expression is the same for any creative struggling to bring their art to the world. She supports her community through her free Facebook community, which I'm also a member of and really love, the Bleed Ink Tribe, and through international workshops and retreats. Now that's the overview of Rocky and her biography, but I want you to get to know the real Rocky. So before we get into the meat of today's episode, yeah, she knows the drill. Let's have some fun. You ready, Rocky?
I'm ready.
You sure? All right, I'll start with some easy ones. How's that?
Okay.
Favorite author?
John Green came up first.
Okay.
I'll go with that.
Favorite nonfiction character?
Oh. Okay, so I'm just doing first thoughts. And so the first thought that came up was Memoirs of a Geisha. The Chica and that. I love that book, one, but two, I just love to be wrapped up in her world. So
yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I can tell you're like a little geisha. All right. Now, be honest. Are you one of those people who sits down at your computer and writes your book at Starbucks for everyone else to see?
No, I actually have a really difficult time writing in front of people. I'm like, bitch, don't watch me.
My husband does that. I swear to God, because we'll be in bed together and I'll be on my computer and he's right next to me, but he's weird and he can fall asleep in any situation, in any, with his eyes open, with him sitting up. And I swear to God, I think he's watching me, but he's just sleeping.
Oh my God, yes. Oh goodness. My husband's the same way. He can fall asleep anywhere. But yep, I'm the kind of writer that I really like my solitude, my space, my quiet. But there are other authors out there that they get turned on and really tuned in being out in public. And, kudos to them. But Rocky is a pretty straightforward introvert.
When you said they get turned on by people watching them, I just kept thinking, oh yeah, watch me type. Watch me type. Rocky, would you rather make $1 million off of a book that you hate or not make a single penny off of a book that you love?
Ooh, I have to go with the book that I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, yeah.
I feel like that's any true author would say that. Yeah. Now, would you rather live in Bali, because I know you do retreats in Bali, right? Would you rather live in Bali for free, but never get to write a book ever again? Or live on the streets forever and get to write whenever you want?
Where are these streets?
I love how that makes a difference.
Are we Northwest Washington D.C. and I'm hanging out with the memorial? or is this like slumming it? So I'm going to pretend that you don't tell me, and that these are pretty nice streets, and that there's nice like heat things coming up from the ground and all that. And yeah, I can totally roll the blanket and shopping cart. I'm down.
All right. And finally, most importantly, no pressure. If you were to write a book about me, what would be the title?
Nerds rule the world, bitches.
Oh! Love it. All right. Perfect. Love you so much. That was so much fun. Let's get down to business though, okay?
Yes.
So, Rocky, you told me that you were going to share with us today about turning your book into the big bucks. So let's dive in. Can you get a little OCD with us and break it down into your 3 main steps or tips that you have for us today?
Absolutely. Very excited to dive in to all of this with you guys. So one thing I see really often with someone who wants to write a book and make it like the centerpiece of their business, and I know that most of your audience are business owners, is that they're like, okay, I'm going to crank it out and I'm going to slap it up online and ta-da, I'm going to be a best-selling person and it's going to like rake in the dough and all that. Sorry, my loves, that's so. My first tip is don't half-ass this book baby, okay? Don't go in half in. So people underestimate the time and energy it really requires to make a book that is meaningful, impactful, and actually draws in your tribe. You wouldn't go in and get shitty photography done and then just slap it all over the world, just like copy, just like anything in your business. Your book is an extension of your business. So you want to give it the time, heart, energy that it requires. So that means making sure once you've written the first drafts, you know, even if you're a great writer, generally are and that's awesome. That's great. That means you were brave and vulnerable enough to get it all out. But you want to make sure that when you're looking at your book, that you're taking your reader on a journey, and that reader needs to be your ideal client. And you want to make sure that there's emotion infused with it, that there's information, everything that you bring to your clients, like in your sessions or in your retreats or however you serve them, it's teased out and you're bringing the reader on that journey. So you want to make sure you edit the book. You want to make sure that developmental editing is when a person goes in, looks at all the holes, looks at all the flow, the consistency, the potency, and tells you what you need to fix. And then you go into line editing where you start to get into the nitty-gritty of grammar, and then you go into proofing, which is the ultimate polish. So that's the writing side. The front end, the book cover, please, for the love of all that is holy, do not go and just like buy a $5 cover unless it's like a sensational cover that's for some reason the designer is totally jipping on their own skills. Go out and find a quality designer. Your book is going to be on Amazon or on bookshelves. It needs to capture the attention of the people scrolling by. It needs to stand up to the competition. So if your book looks like it's been half-assed, it won't sell. And then everything else won't happen. The tribe won't come to you. The clients won't come to you. Because instead of it being this epic and phenomenal way of exalting your brand, it diminishes it. And I don't want that for you. And I know you don't want that for you. So invest in a cover that is an extension of your brand and that reflects the way the book makes a reader feel. So if you're bold, brazen, badass, your book shouldn't be like swans on the lake, you know? Like, make sure you're consistent with your branding from your business all the way through your book and invest the time and energy to make sure that happens.
Yeah, you know, so I think what you're getting at here is really give your book the time of day to make sure that you do it the right way the first time. Recognize that your book is an extension of your brand and it's part of your reputation. This is what people are going to remember you by. So when you think about some of the popular authors out there, especially in like the business and marketing space. Dan Kennedy is one who immediately comes to mind, and he's written many, 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 many books. You can tell just by looking at the cover and all of his covers, like there's consistency. All of the No BS books, they look generally the same way. They have the same sort of style. He has a whole series of them. When you go into the book, it's really great information, but it's also structured really well. He has these little sections where he'll take you out of the information. He'll give you like little examples. And you can tell by the way that he's composed the book that he put thought into it, that he put time into it, that it wasn't just, some, little project. Like he really wanted this to, like you said, be an extension of the brand. And, that is actually how I originally found out about Dan Kennedy. And it's why I still know his name today, because he put so much effort, so much heart into and intention into the book. Conversely, like on the other side of the spectrum, I can't remember what holiday it was for, but some holiday recently, my husband, he knows I love to read and he knows I love marketing. So he attempted
to how they attempt.
Yeah, I love him, but this present didn't go well. He attempted to buy me a marketing book. And I read through this book and I was like, for one, it was stuff I already knew, but it was not a good book. It was like a half-assed book. Yeah. And I don't remember the name of it. I don't remember the author. I don't remember anything about it other than the fact that I didn't like it, because you could tell that there was not intention, thought, care that went into the composition of the book. Which is very, very different than what you do with Dan Kennedy. So do you want to be a Dan Kennedy, or do you want to be that other
guy? Exactly.
Tough call.
Oh, so hard to decide. And so that's exactly it. Because what happens is when you do this well, when you write a book well, by the end, whatever your core message is, your core mission, they are going to turn to you for that, because they've invested hours of their life at that point, because they have been so entertained or so informed or so motivated or so inspired by you. And they know you at an intimate and personal level. Like when you think about marketing and you're like writing Facebook posts, you think, or a blog post, you think 500,000 words per post. You get to a book, you're looking at 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, 75,000. That's a lot of truth. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of story. And so when someone comes to that end point with you, when you've taken them on that journey effectively, then they have no choice but to keep going with you. And that's where you make bank, and that's where you have the impact, and I'll get to that in a minute. But the next part of it is, so one, put your all into the book writing process and the branding process. Two, market like a mofo, okay?
So not market like a nerd?
Oh yes, like a nerd.
There we go.
That is actually more accurate, because nerds, they do their research, they put in their time, they show up for everything that they set their mind to. So yes, market like a nerd.
Yes.
Boom. And so here's the thing, is that right now, if you know what that book is in your heart, like you have the title, you have the heart of it, you know what it is, then why don't you get your gorgeous ass on social media and say, I'm writing a book, and this is what the book's about, and it's going to be messy, and I'm going to show you every step of the process, and I'm terrified, but I know I have to do it. That is essentially like the behind the scenes of the writing process, and people get so intrigued by that. And that's book marketing without it feeling like marketing. It's sharing. It's genuine sharing. And you can start that right away. You don't need a huge ass budget to do this right now. So that's your first thing, is get public, get visible. And that's just sharing it. So when you're writing, take a picture. I'm writing my book today. Another day, writing my book's being a real bitch today. Writing my book. Here's a line from the book. This, this is what I really want to tell you. All of those pieces, it's so simple.
So tease it.
It pulls them. Yep. Tease it. Because people, what happens is, like I said, like the person that just throws up the book in a weekend type thing, they're doing themselves such a disservice because no one knows it's coming. So no one's going to scurry to buy. What you want it to be so enticing before the book even hits Amazon.
Ooh, you know
by then they buy.
Yeah, you know what I've really liked? I've seen a couple of authors do this where they don't just tease, but they create wait lists.
Yep, exactly. That was going to be one of my points, is that you create a wait list, and a lot of times you give them some awesome little bonus just for joining the wait list, but then they get to see the behind the scenes. They get to know when the sales are. They get to know like when the book cover gets revealed, all of those things, and that is then your warm list of buyers. And the thing about it is that should be a separate list from your bigger list, because these people are invested already in the book, in the book itself. Now, when you're looking at marketing too, what you want to make sure is that when you focus your efforts, your promotion, your guest posts, you partnerships with other people to promote you, you want to really focus a lot of that energy on the first 72 hours of release. What happens, I see, is that people are like, oh, I'll do a little post, weekly. But the thing is, how Amazon calculates bestsellers is they need to see mass quantity, download it in a specific period of time. And you have the best chance of really nailing that in those first 72 hours. That's when the excitement, the buzz can really go. You're going to feel like you're hungover afterwards. You're exhausted. But really focus all your time and energy there so that you give yourself the best chance to really climb those lists. And those lists, yes, it's status, it's like exciting, it's awesome, you can share. But also, being on a list means that you're more visible. And in the end, that's all that you want, to be visible.
Yeah.
And then
I almost feel like you could treat it like a holiday launch. Most holiday launches that I do are like 72 hours, super duper quick. Yeah, sales launches, not like a big thing. It's like maximum results in the minimum amount of time. I feel like you could totally treat it. And I haven't done a book launch myself. I've gotten tons of trainings transcribed so that I can turn it into a book. That was about a year ago. And then
now I'm gonna get on you.
I know, you got to get on me. Although I had a new book come to my heart the other day, like recently, like this past week, and I was like, oh, that's the one. That's the one.
Oh my goodness, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am too. I'm actually very excited about that one. So, I want that to be like my signature book. But then I've also written out like a ton of, I have this document of all of these different things that I could do when I launched the book. But what's funny is it was like a ton of things that I could do over time. I didn't have that mapped out, the 72-hour quick impact as soon as you launch it. So that's really, really good to know. Treat it like a holiday launch.
Exactly. And you'll get so much engagement when you do that. And the other thing is, you'll see this a lot with entrepreneurs. People that buy in those first 72 hours, a lot of times give amazing bonuses. Paired with the book purchase. So you buy the book, you send in your receipt to this list, and then you're given back this, an 8-week course or a bonus.
Pat Flynn did that, actually.
Yeah.
He made.
They all do it.
Yeah. Well, I remember his because I really wanted to connect with him, and I was like, oh, this is a good in. So, but he sent it out to his list saying, hey, he didn't just want to become a bestseller. He wanted his book on the shelves. So there was something the books had to be requested in the store or something like that for that to happen. So he sent a message out to the list saying basically hey, go to a Barnes and Nobles or a bookstore, go to their customer service, say you can't find my book on the shelf, and ask for them to put it on the shelf, and then take a picture with the service rep or something like that and send it to him. And if you did that, I think you got entered into some sort of raffle or something like that. I thought awesome. It was really clever.
Yep. Absolutely. And that's the thing is that with readers, you want to make sure you're giving them so many different ways to engage with you and your brand. So that contests, giveaways, Facebook Lives, like Facebook events, all of those things, they just amp up the energy. And that's what you want. You want people like so freaking excited to buy that they're like, when is the link? I need the link right now. That's what you want.
Yeah.
So that's the energy you're going for. And so that won't happen if you don't spend the time marketing. So market like a nerd. And then finally, this is where we make bank. All right, my loves. A lot of people think that, okay, the book's going to make you a gazillion dollars. But this is the thing, is that for entrepreneurs, the money isn't actually in book sales. It's from upsells.
Yeah.
So what you're looking at, and I know you know all about this, Amanda, because you're queen of automation and the upsell, is that you want to create something that is so perfectly paired with your book that when they finish your book, they're like, oh, what's next? I need something right now. I need to go deeper, or I need to go further, whatever it is, however your book's set up. And it could be a downloadable program. It could be you want something that's entry level. It's a step up. And that's when you pull them through your whole funnel. So, but you want to make sure that there's something that's beautifully and perfectly tied with your book. So that way it's a no-brainer. They want to dive in. They want to go and spend the $47 or $97 or $147 or whatever it is. And then what happens is that they just get closer and closer. They're leaning in closer and closer. And so when your $15,000 offer comes up, they're like, of course.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's where you really make your money. So instead of focusing in, oh, I'm going to sell X amount of books, and you can sell a lot of books. I'm all for lots of books.
Freaking Russell Brunson always gets me with this. He's got a lot of books and a lot of upsells and a lot of my money because of it.
Damn him.
I know, but it's good stuff. It's really good stuff. we're Russell Brunson fans on this podcast. But he does this with his book, actually. I think this was after his initial launch. Or maybe this was even how he did his launch. I'm not sure. But when I entered his world, he had his book published, and he was sending Facebook ad traffic to go to a page where basically you get the book for free, but you pay for the shipping, because he knows exactly what you're saying right now, which is that you don't make money off of the book sales, you make money off of the upsells. So you create a list of buyers with your books, with the sales of your books, and then those buyers are more likely to buy again. So it's not important for you to make money on the front end. You're getting a list of buyers to make money on the back end. Yep. So he gives you the book for free, but you pay for the shipping. And then after you go through the order form, he offers you like a $27 bump on the order form. So like you add $27 to the order form to get this whatever. After you buy the book, he obviously sends it out to you, but not before sending you to a thank you page, which offers you some more programs and things like that. And then in the book, obviously, there are places in there where he directs you to certain things off of the book into his online funnels as well. So he executes this amazingly, superbly, and like I said, has made a lot of money off of me because of it.
You and many others, my love.
Yes, this is true.
And so, like, another example is I had a friend and we both spoke at a conference together, and she brought her book for free for every single person at the conference. And someone was like, wow, like, that's such an expense. And she was saying, well, just going off of what I've done before, I know that 1 out of every 10 books that are on the tables is going to turn into a $5,000 client. So the few $100s I spent to bring these books here is well worth the tens of thousands that are coming back to me. So you can think of, like, even if you don't have a huge list, like, to sell to, think of all of the ways that you can use this book. And another thing, if you want speaking a part of your business, a lot of times speakers that have books, they get higher speaking fees. if you want to go that route. Or like my friend did, you speak on stage, it's perhaps it's free, maybe it's out of pocket, but then on the back end, again, that book turns into money for you, because a book is all about bringing people on a journey and then making them lean in closer. And every time they get closer to you, that's more money in your pocket.
Yeah. No, I want to recap everything you've talked about so far, because you've given us so much value already. But I do have a couple other questions, so I'm gonna do a quick little recap, and then is it cool if I ask you a little bit more?
Totally.
All right. So the first thing that you talked about was really actually giving a crap about the book. Really putting your all into it, making it a good book, because it's an extension of your brand. It's gonna create your reputation, and your reputation is gonna lead to your sales, right? Yep. So consider your book an extension of your brand. That was step number 1. Step number 2 was market like a nerd. And what we talked about there was teasing your book, building up the energy around the book launch before you even launch, which is what you should do with any launch. So just treat your book launch like any other launch. Tease it. Create a wait list. When you open up the doors, put in a lot of energy into the first 72 hours, almost treat it like a holiday launch, and make sure that you're really pumping up the energy around the book sales within those first 72 hours, because that's what's gonna support you in being able to hit bestseller. Mm-hmm. So that was the second tip here. And then the third thing that you talked about is that the money doesn't come from the book sales, it comes from the upsells. So it's not as important to make money on the front end from the initial sales of the book. You want to have your back end figured out and have those future sales that you're going to invite these readers to figure it out. That's where the money is going to come from. So that's the recap of everything you talked about so far. But partially because I plan on launching a book, I have a couple more questions.
Bring it. Love it.
So you talked about, obviously, the first 72 hours being really critical for hitting bestseller. Now, I know that there's a lot of mystery around this, much like the Facebook algorithm. The Amazon algorithm is also quite mysterious. So, some people... Huh?
You want me to break it down?
Well, I'm curious, generally in this space, because I'm sure it also varies by the category that you put yourself in when you publish the book on Amazon. But generally in this space, if you're launching a business book or a marketing book, a book for entrepreneurs, do you know around how many sales you're going to want to get in the first 72 hours to hit the bestseller list?
So what you want to look at when you're doing it is look at every 24-hour period of time. So, and within every hour, if you can get on a webcast and then get people to start buying, the algorithm is recalculated every hour. So the more you push through at a very specific period, hour, the better your chances. Now, I would say it really, it really depends on your category, because even within business, depending on who you're competing with, you can go in and see, okay, so say, let's think of a big name in business. They're launching. They're going to radically change the game in terms of who gets to compete with them, right? Versus when a big name isn't launching. So when you're looking at your launch dates, look at what other books are launching. If there are 5 other huge names launching, then that means that it's probably going to be thousands more for you to get even on the top 100 list. What I would say, though, is that if you're just looking at the top 100 list and you're not looking at spot number 1, then a few thousand on your first 72 hours is going to get you somewhere on the list in general. Of course, it depends on what category and, how many people come through in each hour and who you're competing against. But that's a good way to just aim for. Try to go for that.
You know what else? I've heard a lot of people give different advice too on the pricing. Like I've
Mm-hmm.
heard one person say you should just. Well, actually, there was one person who said you should set it for free for the first 72 hours, and I'm like, but that's not a bestseller. That's like a best downloads. That's cheating.
I have the same perspective on that, and that's
Okay.
something like a lot of people in the industry, they're like, oh yes, my book's a bestseller and it was free. I'm like, would you say like your freebie on your website is a bestseller if you get a bunch of webs, because it's that exchange, my money for your service. What I will say in terms of the freebie for 72 hours prior, I do not count that as bestseller status. One, also, when you're competing with other freebies, like you're going to say, oh yeah, I'm next to who knows who and who knows who. Yay. Versus when you're on the paid list and you're like, I am next to Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm next to Jen Sincero. I'm next to, whoever your idols are.
Yeah.
You get to like screenshot that and see your cover like sandwich between like your favorite authors. That's worth the push.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing, but with what is one thing that's possible and potentially helpful, if you do the 72-hour thing, what you want to do is you have your 72-hour thing and you get like people to buy and leave reviews. So that's really your quest for reviews. And then immediately after that, that's when you hit it hard with marketing. So you don't go hit it hard with marketing during the freebies and then go over to it goes paid and then you're like, crickets, because that doesn't serve you. So you are strategic about the freebie. You're trying to get your reviews up, and then you hit it hard once it turns paid. And that's where you try to get to that bestseller status, that top 100. Another thing is, in terms of the category for your audience, if they know this or not, when you're looking at categories, what you want to look at, you like click on books, you click on business, you click on all, because generally there's like a gazillion subcategories. Look at the ones that have the least amount of books. That means less competition. And then see what that word is and use it as one of your keywords. It makes it more likely for you to be placed in that category. Another tip for this is when you're looking at the top 100 in a specific list, in a specific category, click on the number 1 and the number 10. And at the bottom, as you go to like product descriptions, it's going to say, rank, 233, which means they're selling like thousands that day. If they're going to like rank 5,000, then they're selling maybe 100 or less or so. So see the gap between number 1 and number 10, and it gives you an idea of like, oh, okay, well, in this category, like number 1 is like ranked 10,000. That means that like that's just 10, 50, 30, whatever many books, and then but in this category, it's like best-selling rank number 2 of all of Amazon. So look at those ranks and then use those keywords when you're uploading your book, so that way you have a better chance of getting, 1, squarely in front of your audience, but 2, really maximizing your chance for success in terms of being a bestseller.
Yeah, this is awesome. Now, I actually still have a whole lot of questions. And at the same time, I want our audience to be able to ask you their questions too. So I think this is a good segue into talking more about where we can learn more about you. So for our nerdpreneurs who are listening, who want to get an A+ for effort, and are going to take that extra step to look you up, to ask you some more questions after this is over, can you make it a little easier on them? Where can they find you online?
Absolutely. So my tribe where I'm very active is the Bleed Inc. tribe on Facebook. And that's for women who want to write their books and publish them. Some are already published. We have designers, editors, crap ton of awesome people in there. So join in there, and that's where I'm most active. But then if you want to get on my list and get my emails, then you can go to rockycallen.com/bleed-ink-checklist. And what that freebie is, it's a checklist from going from book idea to book launch. So it's like long bullet list for you to really know the step-by-step so you're not overwhelmed. So that's where they can find me.
Yay, thank you. And I'm in that Facebook group. I love that Facebook group. I'm gonna go get that checklist too. So RockyCallen.com/bleed-ink-checklist. Cool. And we'll put that in the show notes for everyone too, in case you're having a hard time remembering that. You can just go to the show notes and click on the link at the show notes and head on over to her page, okay? So Nerdpreneur Nation, there you have it. Our baller book writing superhero has swooped in to save the day. Thank you so much, Rocky, for joining. Thank you guys for listening. I hope you learned a lot. We can't wait to hear where these tips take you. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Rocky. All right, everyone. We'll catch you next time on Market Like a Nerd. Have a nerdtastic day, guys. Bye.